Welcome to Beauty and the Gi, a podcast on grappling and life from the female perspective. We're on episode 7, which reminds me of that Friends episode, but you can't see me doing it. And this episode is on the downward spiral.
Not just a 9 Inch Nails album. Hi, I'm Jen Eads. I am a white belt, and I am full of curiosity and questions about all things Jiu-jitsu.
I'm AJ Klingerman, a world champion purple belt and a little obsessed with Jiu-jitsu.
Just a little bit. That's
Just a little.
You're the perfect person to do this podcast with. And in this episode, I think you mentioned already, we were talking about the dreaded downward spiral.
And how to avoid it. Or if you're like me, though, what to do when you fall into it. Yes, because we all fall into it.
I'm glad it's not just me.
Yeah, it definitely. I think we've all been there.
Yeah. So for somebody that's maybe not familiar with the downward spiral, how would you define that?
Well, there's not really a thing called an upward spiral, right?
You're right. I never thought about that.
Yeah. So it's kind of that thing where like once something bad happens and then it just keeps like the dominoes falling kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
You just now the next bad thing and the next bad thing. And I think from a jiu-jitsu standpoint, how that happens is kind of that like, oh crap moment.
Oh, yeah.
And so I try to tell people like avoid that thought process. If you get swept, don't have that moment of like, ah, dang it. Just have that moment of fight, get back up.
Yeah.
You've been there before. We go back to that, right? You've been there before. It's okay. What do you do from here? Okay. So now you're on your back. What do you do from here? Just having that like thought process, but not having that moment of like, dang it, because that's what starts the downward spiral. And then
I can feel it in my bones.
Yeah, right. You have that like, oh, I know how that feels.
Yeah, like I'm cringing just sitting here.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing first is, never let that happen. Like instead, if somebody sweeps you or something, just be like, nice, that was a good sweep.
Yeah.
Kind of having that change of mindset, like, ooh, that was good. Like, I'm going to ask her how she did that later.
I do that a lot.
Right? I must have been leaving something out there that made her, do that or, like get that so good or whatever. Like, yeah, man, that's that sweep I keep getting caught with. Like, that's really cool. I have to figure out how to defend that, so kind of taking that positive turn on it.
What do you do? And I'm asking this from lots of personal experience. When you're in that, like you feel it coming on and you're like, oh, because I tend to beat myself up.
Yeah. That's not abnormal.
No.
A lot of us do it.
I just get so frustrated. I'm like, this again. Like I almost feel like that's what's in my head is again, seriously, she already just got me. I just did this. Why did I do the same thing again?
Yeah.
And then
but that's how we learn, right?
Right.
Like, making the same mistakes over and over. Sometimes like that's how we learn. I'll eventually realize, oh, she's grabbing my arm because I keep like putting it high in her collar when I'm in guard, or I keep like trying to push off of her when she's mounted or whatever. So it is a way to learn when we keep having the same thing happen over and over again. So then you have to evaluate, but just kind of, I kind of said it, but like having that, like, it's okay. I've been here before.
Yeah.
I know what to do. Or even if I don't, eventually I'll get to a place where I do. Like, what's going to happen? Okay. Yeah. She taps me, we start over,
right. Yeah.
So it's just know that it's okay. Like it's all part of the learning experience. And even in a tournament, something bad might happen. You might get in a bad spot. You're pretty much guaranteed that you will at some point. If you never do, I'm amazed. But like it's going to happen, and just being like, okay, I've been here before. I've trained this position, or, I'll end up getting into one that I have trained and I do know. So just keeping that positive mindset about it.
Do you have any like go-to mantras?
Yeah. So I really struggled with being claustrophobic when I first started jiu-jitsu. I couldn't stand anything like near my face, which is tough in jiu-jitsu. Right. But jiu-jitsu also cured me of it, because it's going to happen. And so I would constantly repeat to myself, you can breathe. You just feel like you can't. And kind of, kind of shaking off that you just feel like you can't part, like not being like, you feel like you can't breathe. You feel like you can't breathe, but just repeating over and over. You can breathe. You just feel like you can't. You can breathe. You just feel like you can't. And just, if I'm doing a systems check, kind of thinking about my body and everything, I'm like, all right, well, I am still breathing. Like it's harder because something's over my face, which, the air is more hot is really what it is that, kind of gives you that claustrophobic feeling. Or if, my husband has an amazing smash game, he does entire seminars on pressure.
Oh, wow.
And it'll be a 3-hour seminar. You feel like you got a great massage, but just on pressure. And so, when I roll with him, he will smash me and I just have to be like, yes, this sucks. Yes, it feels like I can't breathe, but I can still breathe. I just if I can create a centimeter of space, then I can create an inch of space. Then I can create another inch, I just have to just fight it and just repeat to myself, it's okay. You've been here before. At worst, it's going to be, 5 minutes or 6 minutes or whatever the clock is, you just have to learn to stay calm and make it through. Just keep pushing forward. Maybe the mantra could be keep on swimming or whatever, just keep swimming. Just keep swimming.
Perfect.
Another thing that I'm really big on is speaking in positives.
Oh, yeah.
So, and this comes from your own personal, what you're telling yourself. And then if you're at a point where you're coaching someone else, we think about tightrope walkers. They don't say, don't look down, because what's the first thing you do?
Right.
You look down.
Yeah.
If I told you don't think about the pink elephant, well, you picture a pink elephant, you can't help it, because your body doesn't, or your mind, your brain doesn't hear the negative part. They hear, think of a pink elephant. They hear, look down. So you have to think in positives. The boxing coach says, keep your hands up, right?
Yeah.
So just kind of having that positive word set. If you're telling somebody, stay heavy, you're not saying, don't let up, because you're like, okay, what do I do? Whatever you do, don't open your guard. That actually, James was coaching once and the guy was up on points, but it was a world's match. And if he would have gotten his guard passed at the end, he would have lost. And so James kept saying, this was before we really started working on speaking in positives, but he kept saying, don't open your guard, don't open your guard. And then the guy opens his guard because, in his head, that's what he kept hearing was open your guard, So you just have to, keep your guard closed, things like that. So speaking in positives to yourself and to other people is very helpful.
I think I've got some things to work on.
Yeah. I mean, and it's always a struggle, but just correcting yourself. I'm big on course correct. If you start getting off course and you start noticing that crap moment and that, I stink at this or whatever, I'm doing terrible. Why are you here? You start having that right? Why do I do this to myself? But if you start going through that, then, you just have to start building back up, start working your way back to the positive.
It's one thing to do this at practice in class. How do you, if you're in competition, is it the same thing? Is there anything different when you're in competition that you're thinking about?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's almost more important in competition to me, just because if I have that dang it moment, I'm probably not coming back from it.
Yeah.
Where in class, there's always the next roll.
Yeah.
There's always, it's just class. I have not gotten a medal at the end of class once. So it doesn't matter, I can tap out 10 times in a 5-minute round in class, but if I tap once in tournament, that's it, you know? So it's almost more important, which is why you want to practice it during class.
Right.
But, so in a tournament, it's definitely important. I also think, the downward spiral is often what leads to us having a panic attack during a roll.
Yeah.
Because you just start, I have too, you just start playing these things in your head and you just start freaking out a little bit.
Yeah.
So, if you can really work to, it all starts with that first moment of dang it.
Yeah,
really it does.
Yeah.
So if you can quit that from happening, then it all gets better.
Yeah.
Gets easier. And just reminding yourself, like, absolutely have a mantra, it's just jiu-jitsu. Like that, it's just jiu-jitsu. It's fine.
That's a good mantra.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I've got at least a place to start coming up with my mantra.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't have that yet.
I think it'll be good. I think it'll help you. And then you can write it, each day, like in the top of your notebook.
Yeah.
That's your mantra. Like, keep that in mind when you roll. It's part of your game plan.
Oh, yeah. Now it's all coming together. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap this episode up. But we can't leave without giving a tip for on the mat and off the mat this week. So what is your on the mat tip?
Yep. So I'm just going to reiterate, staying calm, speaking in positives, breathing.
Yes.
That's a big thing. Just breathe. And remember, it's just jiu-jitsu. So, I guess that's like 5 things for my on the mat tip, but they all go together.
They do.
So, just breathe and work your way through it. And
I think for me, off the mat this week, I'm going to really focus on speaking more positively to myself and to everyone around me.
Yeah. And I have a good example of that for off the mat.
Oh, good.
James and I never say, remind me to do this, because then I'm putting it on your plate. So instead we say, will you help me remember to do this? And like, even though it kind of changes from that, like, don't do this or whatever, but it puts it back in my responsibility. And so just thinking about the way you word things is important. So that's my example, like one of them. Another one, we used to play this game every July. I don't know why July. We just picked a month out of the year and we played the can't game. So you could not say can't or cannot. You couldn't say either of those. If you did, no matter where you were, you had to do 10 push-ups. And it was really just a game to focus on what words were coming out of your mouth. So you would instead say, this is hard for me, or I'm having difficulty with this, or I'm unable to do this. Even if you really aren't able to do it, but saying that instead of instant, we all just instantly are like, oh, I can't do that. It just, it's hard to kick that habit. So we would be doing push-ups in the parking lot or at Lowe's or at the, restaurant or whatever.
Yeah.
There were times when like somebody'd get out of the booth, do push-ups, go wash their hands, come sit back down. They'd say can't again. We'd make them get up. Just over and over. But it was a good exercise in actually thinking about what you're saying. And it goes along with that speaking in positives too. So,
okay. I'm going to have to add the can't game at some point.
We should bring it back this July. We should bring it back.
We should. Okay.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah. We'll be reminding you all of this.
Yes.
In July. All right. Well, that wraps up this episode of Beauty in the Gi. And you know what we're going to ask you to do? We're going to ask you to subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already. But more importantly, if you have a friend or know someone that needs to listen to this, just hit the little share button and send it to them. It's really easy to do on Spotify and in most of your favorite podcasting apps of choice. And if you want to continue this conversation, connect with us on Instagram. I'll have a link to our pages in the show notes, but you can find me there at Brassy Broad Jen.
And you can find me at AJ Klingerman.
And we will see you on the mat. Do you want to do the welcome?
I'll give it one shot.
Okay, I think you should. Because we're 7 episodes in now.
We are, I know.
Do we need to drill it?
Maybe.